Hi, this is Kay at the Swan Inn in Knowle Sands. This is just one of a series of videos I'm producing, mainly in response to comments by Eardington Parish Council on the planning portal, and also in a series of emails from them, and their response to a Freedom of Information Act request regarding the B4555 road. So in this video, I'm going to focus on just two of the comments that they made, and I also have a series of questions to put to the Parish Council. But firstly, they said, the applicant claims to have tried various events to increase trade, but no councillors or parishioners asked have been aware of these. And secondly, other similar local businesses are operating successfully. So for the Parish Council and anyone else in the area who doesn't know, I'm going to showcase some of the things that we have tried here to try and keep the pub open by diversifying through COVID, cost of living crisis, etc., and to show just how ironic the comments made by the Parish Council are. So especially when you look at how the Parish Council is run. All of my evidence will have a timestamp where possible to show this. So we had a lot of bad luck when we first took over at the end of June 2019, but I'm going to try here just to stay on track and show you some of the things that we've tried to do. So early on, we put out a half-page advert in the Shropshire Star showcasing what we were going to be doing. This was not going to be very different to what was being done before. This was to, show some of the extra things that we were doing. We had a constant presence on Facebook. When we took over, there were about 1,200 likes, and that's grown now to over 2,000. But I'd just like to say, where is the Parish Council's Facebook page? What are they doing? So when we first bought the Swan Inn, we had the same chef as for previously, and he wanted to change the Sunday roast to a carvery. So our assistant manager produced a questionnaire, poll if you like, on Facebook, and here's the results. 68% of the customers did not want to change, and we listened to the customers and didn't change. So weekdays and weeknights were very quiet almost from day one. In fact, people were saying that they thought that the pub had actually closed. So I don't know where that information had come from, but that was from day one. So to try and boost trade, we thought we'd put on some extra things as well. This was not instead of what was already happening. The same, menu was still on offer, but we ran 3 themed nights. So when it started to get colder from about October, it got really quiet, although we were fully booked for Christmas Day. But it hadn't helped the fact that when we took over, there weren't really many bookings. In fact, there was a kids' party and one other small function. So in the October, I formed a walking group, and this was advertised on Facebook and a group called Meetup. So the walks carried on right up until the week before the first lockdown. We went on a different walk every single week. These then resumed after lockdown, but had to stop as I was needed at the pub due to staffing, and the cost of advertising on Meetup wasn't covered by the additional income. And we also had a lot of customers being very cautious and not returning to the group. So I don't think it had been done at the pub before, but we created a Santa's Grotto in the Snug. This was extensively advertised with videos. We were giving away free gifts and a visit to Santa for any child who'd had a meal, which only cost £7. And the voucher was available from the beginning of November to do that. So Santa went around Bridgnorth as well with flyers, giving them out. We had posters everywhere. And there was even Santa stood on the opposite side of the road waving to traffic. I don't know what the Parish Council were expecting in terms of letting them know about this. Maybe they can come back to me and tell me. So that winter we held a Christmas fair as well in the function room, and these pitches were free to local stall holders, and there was a Christmas tree sale on the car park as well by another stall holder. The advertising attracted a lot of interest from stall holders, but unfortunately not from people actually wanting to buy anything. And I know that some of these stall holders had also tried to advertise the event as well. So we knew that we needed to make more use of the function room. As I said earlier, there weren't any functions really booked in apart from a couple. So we decided to try and get a ceremonies licence so that we could hold more regular events. We thought, we could offer weddings to a particular market where people didn't have massive budgets. There were lots of nice wedding venues in the area, really, really nice, but not everyone can afford to use those. So we spent a lot of time and money meeting the criteria. But the point I'm making here, whether you agree with that or anything else we've tried, is we had a large vinyl banner displayed beneath our main sign at the bottom of the driveway, as well as all our other advertising. So how can the parish council say they didn't know of the many initiatives we've tried? That is what I'm trying to get across here. Maybe the parish council think we should have gone around knocking on every door to tell people about all the different things that we were doing, but actually we did try to do that, because we went around and delivered a glossy card flyer to nearly every property in Knowle, Sands and Eardington, and a lot of Bridgnorth High Town, advertising what the Swan Inn was known for, and we offered a free dessert, but not a single voucher was used. So it's quite usual for hospitality businesses to be quiet in the winter, especially January, February. So for Valentine's, we decided to do something a little bit different to everyone else in town. So we included an acoustic guitarist and red roses for every couple. We created a bit of a gallery for Victoria Coleman, a local artist, where people could come and view her pictures and potentially buy them. So we don't have caravans or a campsite, we just have 6 letting rooms, but quite often the people staying those are staying here to go to weddings, etc. in the wider area. So planning, stock and staffing levels is always difficult at the Swan Inn, because you just never know how busy you're going to be. There's no pattern to it. So even when you think you're having a good run of a couple of days at the weekend, the following week can be very quiet again. So we remained quiet, but the diary was absolutely chock-a-block with bookings for Mother's Day, which was great. So every fridge and freezer was full of stock, as was the cellar. But then 2 days before, lockdown was announced. So any time that COVID restrictions were lifted or eased, we would always be open day one. We created extra covered spaces, for example, outside. We were very careful about the rules. We also offered takeaways. We also opened our accommodation before that for essential workers, but always did the checks with employers, etc., and refused anyone who couldn't prove that they were allowed to travel. And just as we did with Victoria Coleman, the artist, we've always tried to help promote other local businesses and activities, such as the steam railway, canoeing. There's a fishing page on our website. It was even suggested by fishermen that we change our name to the Swan Inn on the Severn, which we did online, just to attract more fishermen to stay here, because we've got the path down to the river opposite, and just to distinguish us from the other Swan in town as well. We also shared this on a blog about things to do on rainy days in Shropshire, so we tried to use various avenues electronically as well. So here's an extra covered outdoor space for when outdoor dining only was allowed after lockdown. So we had, tables suitable for the larger groups that were allowed. But again, we were always ready for these changes. But we tried to focus on diners, because we did have, chef to pay for, but nothing that we tried ever seemed to work. We tried experimenting with different packages for the weddings as well, trying to find what our niche could be there. So we offered the cheaper 3-course roast, all the way through to fine dining. But the reviews we got for people who did book stated that the food was outstanding, but we just were not getting enough bookings and the costs to us were very high. We also advertised on specialist wedding sites, but that incurred further subscription charges. We even had packages for as little as £1,000, but people still wanted to cut the costs further. E.g., we had people saying, could we have Prosecco, but expecting it to be £5 a bottle, cheaper than the supermarket, thinking that we could get it really cheap and pass that on to them, or that they could hire the room instead for a small cost and do their own thing. But it's just not feasible. So we've always maintained the full table service that the Swan Inn has been known for over the years, just to give people that extra special experience. But staffing issues were much, much worse after COVID. Our best staff, who had their own cars, had naturally moved on. They'd finished apprenticeships, courses, had gone back to university, for example, and we could not attract staff who could get here with a lift. It tended to be quite young, some of them, or if they were a bit older, they wanted regular hours that we couldn't offer. Taxis, I've mentioned in my application, were an absolute nightmare, and for customers. In fact, there was a lot of information on that was put with my application and was not shown on the planning portal for some reason. So we had to resort to just opening the restaurant to people staying here at one point, because we just couldn't have coped with any more people with the staff that we had. It would not have worked. So we were still trying to find some use for the function room, but in a way that didn't impact too much on the restaurant. So we came up with a system that could be booked, i.e. we developed an escape room, and we were really proud of this escape room. We got all 5-star reviews and some people returning with different friends. We also had a shooting simulator with a booking system as well. It was just so difficult again to find staff, because you could have an hour booked one day and then nothing for 3 or 4 days. It was very sporadic. So what we ended up doing, it didn't go to plan, was we would end up staffing that as well. So it could be that having got up early in the morning to get ready to do breakfast, serve that to people, that could stretch out to 3 or 4 hours just for a couple of rooms sometimes. Then the rooms have to be done, then you're getting ready for the next check-ins, then you've got the pub open again. Someone might then want the escape room, then some food, so you'd have to go and do that, then the shooting simulator, then clear all that away, and it just means you're very restricted then in what you can do in the restaurant area. But that's where the uncertainty is. You don't know who's going to come through the door. We only have 6 rooms here, but it was quite often the case that only one of those rooms would want to book a table in the restaurant. But back to the point about what the parish council said, that the applicant claims to have tried various events to increase trade, but no councillors or parishioners asked have been aware of these. So there's an example of one of the vinyl banners that we had. This is a picture that I took yesterday from Google Maps. So you can see the shooting simulator vinyl banner there. Before that we had a wedding one. What on earth are the parish council expecting? So to try and attract more people from a wider area to travel to the pub, to do, some of our new activities that we'd invested in, like the escape room and the shooting simulator, we offered things like a pirate Cluedo style river walk, which was really popular. So this was advertised on Groupon, which would have been visible nationally, but they do take a hefty commission. So I think it was 40%, it could have been even more. We were only charging £10 per group of people, so some of those groups were like a dozen people. There was a reasonable amount of uptake, but we can only actually think of one group of people that bought food and drink. They generally just came to do the walk and use the free car park. So we gave out vouchers for the other activities, but there was definitely something starting then in March 2022 where people were not wanting to spend money. Now, to go back to what I'm trying to show, which is that the parish councillors should have known what we were trying to do here with everything that we tried. And that is at this time, for several months, we had a big pirate flag hanging from the sign in the garden on the roadside. Did the parish councillors not see that? Did it not occur to them to try and find out what that was for? Now, I could keep adding to this list, but hopefully you have the idea of what I'm trying to say. So let's turn now to Eardington Parish Council, and I've got a list of questions. But firstly, how could you not even get the name of the main road through the parish correct? It's the B4555, not the B4355, a road on the Welsh border. Now, I asked a series of questions of Eardington Parish Council at the time of my 2 applications and the feedback that was received, but they've refused to answer, and I've requested this information several times. In response to the Freedom of Information Act regarding the road, they said that they do not have any records of any format, yet I've recently received letters with Eardington Parish Council headings on, numerous examples, etc. So I think that needs some explanation. Now, I will be making other videos including about all the evidence that I have about the road. So I don't think it's unreasonable to ask the following questions of Eardington Parish Council, especially given that we are paying extra for them on our council tax bills. So number 1, how well do you think that you are performing as a parish council, and what are your success criteria? Why did you not know about any of our efforts to make the pub successful here at the Swan in Knowle Sands? And following on from that, how would you have expected to have heard about what we're doing? So the parish council should be leading by example. So how does the parish council communicate with parishioners about when and where their meetings will be held and what will be discussed, given that there are never agendas on the website, minutes are rarely published, and there's an absence of any information for months, and there has previously been for a couple of years? Is there any bias in the parish council? And how do you try to limit this? What makes you think you are capable of commenting on planning applications? What historical records do you call on to make decisions in the parish when discussing planning applications? And which businesses were you referring to when it was stated that other similar local businesses are operating successfully? And what were your success criteria to give you enough certainty to publish that comment in the public domain on the planning portal? How has the parish council tried to support any business in this locality in recent years? And how does the parish council ensure that it provides good value for money when spending parishioners' council tax contributions? And finally, what activity are you undertaking to promote the parish council to attract new people as councillors to better represent our village? Now, I have not provided an exhaustive list of everything that we've done here at the Swan Inn. There are lots of other examples, but I've tried to show the ways that we have aimed to advertise. So I do look forward to some answers from the parish council if they do respond this time. But I think it's time that the parish councillors took a good look at how the parish council is run and puts a lot more consideration into the judgmental comments that it makes.